once you've got those scripts installed, they hide just here. One's called per create, horizon, rename, settings, etc. We're going to really only use maybe settings and create for now. Now the way this works is you draw some lines out and it will give you the perspective grid. This is how you do it. Say you found a picture, a photo, or a bit of artwork that you like, and you like the perspective, you like the point of view. Then, okay, let's do it just, I'll type city. Okay, let's find one that looks interesting, one that's usable. Yeah, I'll use this one. Okay, right, so you load this in. And you want to find the perspective of this. So you have to use the pen tool. You go to the pen tool, and the idea of this is you identify parallel lines, 2 parallel lines within the image, and it will then determine where the vanishing point is, and then it will also spit out a bunch of lines that you can control. So the wider apart the lines are, the more accurate it will be. So let's try this one just here. So you click one line there, one line there, and then you hold Control and click once, left click once, and then you find another line that would be parallel to this one, so in this case another vertical line, and you draw another one, one there, one there. So you've got 2 lines now. Once you've got those 2 lines, you go to Scripts, Per Create, short for Perspective Create. This will come up, frequency modifier. This number, all this number is the amount of perspective guidelines it's going to generate. Let's generate, well, actually not the amount, because it will generate more than one, obviously, but just sort of the more broadly the amount. So the higher the number, the more lines it will generate. So let's put 2. And then it will think about it for a bit, and depending on your machine, it will think about it more. So it creates a whole bunch of perspective lines here on a new layer. So let's do, we've done vertical ones, let's do some more. Let's do these vanishing points here. So we'll do one here to here, left click, sorry, Control, left click, and then we'll find another parallel line. So I'll do the one down the bottom, one here, one here, and I'll left click again. Same thing, Scripts, Per Create. Put 2, let it think. Now it's generated those perspective lines, and I'll just do the last ones. One here, and then one there, and then one there. Oh, didn't press Control, left click. One's there, and one there, and now I'll Control, left click. One more time, go to Scripts, Per Create, 2, thinks about it, and then it creates it. So now I've got 3 layers that overlay the perspective lines. Now, I know it's quite nice sometimes to, let's just create a new layer just here, a white layer. Oh, actually, my favourite, sort of 50% grey. You can go in here now, and you can Control U to bring up hue saturation. Then you can colorize them to make them more identifiable. Saturate that. So you can have a red one. Control U. Colorize. Let's have a blue one. And then a green one. So now you've got perspective grid that perfectly matches up with the photo that you had underneath. So if you really like that perspective, you can now feel confident that you can paint underneath it or paint on top. Let's just select. Oh, by the way, yeah, I'm just going to add the brushes. that I added earlier. Brush preset, I quite like large list, yeah. So yeah, here these are those Evan brushes here. So you've got basic brushes, texture brushes, things like that. Let's try a sketching brush. So yeah, I think that's quite a useful little script for determining perspective from a photo. But you don't have to use it from a photo. You can just use it, do it completely from scratch, and I'll show you how to do it from that, and I'll also show you what the settings are for it. So if we just delete all of that, just leave a background layer, I'll create one new layer here, and I want to just determine just some basic perspective lines that just give me a rough feel for the kind of perspective I want to do. So I want to do something where I'm sort of looking up high at something, okay? So I will just say, well, you know, I want a perspective line that sort of looks up like that. And so I get that sort of feeling of looking up kind of thing. And that sort of thing like that. So I just draw out that rough feel that I'm going to be looking up at some big building, but I want to add to it later. So with that sort of thing set up, again, you would go, well, first of all, I'll show you the settings. So if you want to change the settings are here, perspective settings. This lets you change the line width, those lines, and the opacity, and whether it's going to do the stroke on the path. So let's make the lines a bit bigger. Let's do maybe 3 and save. So I'll use the mouse. I tend to prefer using the mouse for this kind of thing. It's a bit more precise. So okay, one perspective line there. One perspective line there. And again, scripts, perspective create. So it gives me multiplies all the perspective and then takes it towards the vanishing point that it would naturally converge to. I'll do the same for this one. Left click, sorry, command left click. Or control left click, I'm not on a Mac. File, scripts, per create. And then the vertical ones. So again, now I've got my perspective grids for this. I can either hide that, or maybe I could just bring it down in opacity just to show it was my original sort of, I don't know, that's where it's a very kind of, I guess, a very Blade Runner-y, looking up at some kind of big building or something like that. I'll just lock that layer. And again, I'm just going to color code these lines. I just use Control U as the shortcut to do that. Cool, okay. So then you could start sort of painting with some confidence that you're going to get the perspective all right on this. I'm going to start with a large airbrush. Sort of generate a rough kind of light source. It's kind of, whoops, let's just see. So yeah, you can use this as, I think, a pretty easy perspective grid setup. That you can either get stuff straight from a photo, or you can sort of just generate a few initial perspective idea lines and then continue from there and build it up.